Alan Brown, as an outsider living in London, looking at U.S. stocks, do you see a lot of upside left for U.S. markets after last year's big 30% run?
Well, last year was great, but I wouldn't want another year like that. I think that would take us straight up into bubble territory. I'd like to see a number posted in the sort of high single digits, basically in line with underlying earnings growth, not more price earnings multiple expansion.
And what about if rates actually do rise? I know Janet Yellen's doing her best to keep them low, but if things work out, the economy improves, and rates actually do float a little bit higher, will that undermine the stock market?
It could do. This is the great test. It's the tussle between rising discount rates and earnings growth. We're actually hopeful that interest rates won't rise until the middle of next year and that earnings will be robust enough to overcome rising discount rates.
And if rates do rise, or Janet Yellen causes a bit of unease in the emerging markets, just as Ben Bernanke did last year, big sell-off in emerging markets last year, what's going to happen to the emerging markets?
I think that's over now, and you've got to remember it's always darkest before the dawn. I actually believe that emerging markets, after their significant relative underperformance, is actually probably the great value opportunity in this year.
And then what about Europe? It's closer to where you live. When you look across the channel, what's going to happen with Europe? We haven't had a problem like we had with Cyprus or Greece. Is one on the horizon?
Tensions for the moment are much, much lower. So I'm not expecting anything right now. But we need to remember that none of the fundamental issues have been addressed, and Europe really only tends to address these when it's in a sense of crisis. So down the road, maybe not this year or next, I would expect further trouble.
So if you're going to allocate assets globally, how would you rank them? U.S. market, Europe, emerging markets? Give me a win-place show.
Okay, well, I characterize the U.S. as the quality story, Europe as the value story, emerging markets as the growth story. The standout one from a relative point of view for me this year is emerging markets. I think now that it's a bit of a toss-up between the United States and Europe.
And what about all this information about a Chinese slowdown? That doesn't scare you?
Well, I think there's some big adjustments coming in China. We're going to have to get used to the fact that China won't be doing 10% growth rates. It's going to be 7% this year, and it'll be lower in 5 years' time.
We'll just have to get used to it. Thanks a lot, Alan Brown.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching The Street.